The success of Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake could lead to another all-time classic Super Nintendo game being brought back in HD-2D, and we're going to talk about that and a bit more. But before we do, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get all of my videos and live streams as soon as they drop. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this, because the Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake producer is actually interested in bringing back the all-time classic Final Fantasy VI redone in HD 2D, something that people have been asking for since they first saw Octopath Traveler back in 2018 at the Nintendo January Switch presentation. This is something that people have been asking for more than half a decade now. And if you go back even longer than that, if you're just looking at bringing back the classic in some type of improved way. So Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, the producer's name is Masaki Hayasaka, and he expressed the desire to bring back this all-time Super Nintendo RPG that people just love in HD 2D. This was in a recent interview with Inverse. He did talk about this a bit more and games that he'd like to see in HD 2D, saying, quote, "It's not like we have concrete plans for this, but personally, I would have to say Final Fantasy VI Octopath Traveler, the first HD 2D title, was developed while referencing Final Fantasy VI, as it had the highest quality pixel art. I would love to see how the game we referenced would look with the HD 2D art style. Because the art style itself was created while referencing such titles, it's highly compatible with games originally made using pixel art. The compatibility is probably why people feel this style is a match made in heaven with these type of remakes." Now, however, working with the style is not an easy task. It's not just a copy and paste, or oh, it's just 2D sprites so it's easily done. It actually takes a lot of skill, and there's a lot of challenge faced while making Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, for example. He said this, quote, "The quickest way to explain this by comparing the first teaser we released 3 years ago against the latest trailer. I'm sure you'll find everything to be different, from the map size to the character's body proportions. We get asked why things took so long since the first announcement, but the fact is that we needed this much time speaks how intensely involved the process of applying HD 2D graphics to Dragon Quest III truly was. Some say that because HD 2D is pixel based and the game is a remake, it should be easier to produce, but that is far from the truth. In my opinion, this style requires a higher level of artistic sensibility, and a remake faces more project-level limitations compared to a brand new title, making the difficulty extremely high. After all, the expectations from the fans of the original game are a monumental hurdle we must work hard to meet." Now, this is one of the things that people don't quite understand with game development, and I've actually heard a number of times when it comes to a brand new game compared to remaking something old, or when it comes to an HD 2D title or high quality sprite work compared to completely 3D models. Yes, there is different skills that is needed when it comes to making a high-end AAA game and things like that, but if you're taking an all-time classic that have expectations already built in, and you're trying to appropriate that to modern hardware using super high quality sprites and rechanging the animations and everything, yeah, it's going to take some time. It could take you the same amount of time that it would take to make a brand new game when it comes to AAA titles. But I would say that they probably announced it a bit too early. I know that it does take time, but if it's going to take you that time because you guys know how HD 2D is, maybe you shouldn't have announced it like 3 years ahead of time. So that's something for the future. Like, hey, look, these games do take time. It's hard to do. There was a lot of changes from that first trailer down at this point, but don't announce it so early. But I get that they probably want to let the fans know what's going on and say, hey, here's what we're working on. But I think it was probably announced a little bit too early. But either way, the game is out now at this point, and Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake has launched to successful reviews, and it looks like it's going to be a massive hit with the Japanese audience. And even here in the West, we saw the Steam sales numbers looking like it's 40,000 plus, setting a JRPG Square Enix record overall. So I'm expecting it to be a big launch and a hot game for the holiday season. Now, he did mention briefly Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, and he had this to say, quote, "I still cannot share any information about Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, but we are diligently working on the remakes, so please look forward to it. Those games are set to come out in early 2025, so we'll see what happens there. And don't worry about it being 1 and 2 if you're new to the series. They actually said that when it comes to a story perspective, playing Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake actually falls in line. If you play that one first, then you play 1, then you play 2. That's apparently the order there. So I think that they did a good job before the other one. So we'll see how it works out next year and once we got more information. But what do you guys think about a potential when it comes to Final Fantasy VI coming back? I would love to see it because Final Fantasy VI is one of my favorite RPGs of all time. I think it's a 10 out of 10 type of RPG. It was the biggest thing back when it came out. It had the crazy Mode 7 graphics. This was the RPG of RPGs for the 16-bit era, along with games like Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, Breath of Fire, and so many other classics. But many JRPG fans feel that Final Fantasy VI is one of the finest adventures out there. So if we were able to get a Final Fantasy VI HD-2D remake that was the quality of Dragon Quest III, where they really go in and take their time, man, that would be incredible. But based off of what he's saying here with the development of Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, I'm guessing that if they did do Final Fantasy VI, that would take a long time as well. Now, they already have the pixel remasters, which do update things a bit, but it's not the same as doing a complete HD-2D remake like we've seen with some of these games like Dragon Quest III and also Dragon Quest 1 and 2 coming up. So I think that would be really cool. That game's super good, and even though the pixel remaster's out and it's selling really well, I think that people would actually triple dip that at this point, quadruple dip. I don't know how many times I've bought this game, but I would love to see Final Fantasy VI HD-2D Remake, and I'm not necessarily one of those people that love to see these older games, these pixel art games, brought back into 3D a lot. I think if it makes sense, go ahead and do it, but I think that Final Fantasy VI would make complete sense if it stayed this type of way and they don't do some type of massive remake. But maybe some of the other remakes that they've done have soured me on this, but I feel that this would be just a perfect match made in heaven when it comes to Final Fantasy VI HD-2D and what we've already seen with Dragon Quest III. I think it would be awesome. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. But now we're going to move on to the next topic, and that is a apparent information that Sony is in talks to acquire Kadokawa Games, giving them Spike Chunsoft and a majority share in FromSoft and more when it comes to the anime scene as well. So news publication Reuters is reporting this morning that Sony Group Corporation has been in talks to acquire Kadokawa, which would give them some major leverage in the anime, manga, and video game markets. The move would see Sony own Spike Chunsoft and also have a majority share in FromSoftware, the developers behind the acclaimed Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and more. They would also own Acquire, who were behind the recently released Mario & Luigi Brothership, Octopath Traveler, and more. So this would definitely be a big move for Sony. I'm guessing that if Sony does do this move, it's really more of an anime play because they did already have control of like Crunchyroll and Funimation and other things. So I think they want to kind of consolidate all of that and own it, which would not be good overall for the consumers when it comes to the anime scene. But I think that the secondary goal of this acquisition would absolutely be FromSoft. That would be the big one. I don't think they care about Acquire and Spike Chunsoft. None of those games really do anything on their systems, but the big one for them from a gaming perspective would be FromSoftware. So you can get that next huge Bloodborne. You can work directly with them with that and have that complete control. And of course, Elden Ring, you're looking at something like that, that'd be pretty big. And obviously they have Demon Souls and other things. So I think that that would be a huge acquisition for Sony, and that would be a big one overall. Elden Ring is a massive seller that commands a lot of attention, and FromSoftware's games are now massive 10, 20 million plus unit sellers overall if you look at the last number of games that they've released. So that would be a huge play for them. I'm not the big fan of every single company needs to be buying up all these other companies. I don't think that that's necessarily great for the consumers when it happens. We've seen Microsoft do a bunch of different things. Not sure how good that was for a lot of those companies. We've seen EA, we've seen Activision, we've seen a bunch of companies do this over the years. It's almost inevitable that you're going to get swallowed up by some other bigger corporation. It just happens so much, not only in gaming, but in other business as well. But yeah, it's not something that I'd like to see. But at the end of the day, if they're going to do it, then they're going to do it. And I would guess that Sony would do something like this, especially after, I would say, the Bungie acquisition and the whole Concord situation that went down. They acquired Firewalk. A lot of their acquisitions really haven't done too much just yet, but this one would actually be a very good acquisition from the standpoint of Sony's perspective. I don't know about the consumers, but from Sony's perspective, that would be a huge acquisition and a very good one, because you have a competent, big AAA developer that can actually get games out on a good time and sells a good amount as well. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm guessing that if they did get them, we'd still probably see the, I would just say this is just speculation on my end, but we'd probably still see the Elden Ring or the Souls type games on PC and PlayStation going forward. I'm not sure if they'd still release it on Xbox, but we'll have to wait and see. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. I have people already sitting there and saying, oh my gosh, all of this is happening. It's just in talks. We got to wait and see if the deal actually gets done. So overall, what do you guys think about potentially Sony owning Elden Ring, owning FromSoftware, and owning Spike Chunsoft and Acquire and all of that? Let me know in the comment section. But now we're going to move on to some new information on Atelier Yumia, the Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land. We've got a brand new synthesis trailer and 30 minutes of gameplay. We're not going to go over the full 30 minutes, but I'm telling you, it is worth a watch. I talked about this recently, actually a couple times recently, on some lists that I did for best upcoming games on the Nintendo Switch and other platforms, and man, this looks like it. It looks like they've completely rehauled from a mechanical standpoint what they're doing with the synthesis, what they're doing with the gameplay in an Atelier game. So let's get into the combat first, because this is what's got me most excited about Atelier Yumia. So the combat system has now been revamped in Atelier Yumia, the Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land, to offer intense real-time combat with intuitive gameplay. The skills available to active team members will depend on their distance from the enemy, close or ranged combat. Compared to previous installments, players can now move or interchange characters at any time during the fight. When certain conditions are met, a powerful friend action combo can be unleashed in battle. By meeting certain conditions, players will be able to activate Mana Surge, which will allow for exclusive actions to be performed. In addition, each character will have a unique special move, Maximize Mana Surge, which can inflict significant damage on enemies. Now you can also journey alongside Yumia and her friends. Players will explore a vast world of the Alidus continent. As they travel, they'll be able to build their own bases. Thanks to the new building feature, fans will freely be able to create and decorate their atelier from the vast choices of walls, floors, roofs, furniture, and more, or choose a select predefined base model from the catalog. I think I'm going to do that. I'm not going to spend my time doing all that other stuff. By increasing the comfort level of their atelier, players will unlock bonuses such as the ability to develop their base and enhance the skills of Yumia and her companions. Lastly, if players do not wish to return to their base during exploration, they'll be able to set up camp where they can spend time cooking, which will provide various benefits during exploration and combat, or resting. Certain character events that can only be seen at camps will sometimes occur, providing greater insight into Yumia and her companions. Everyone who purchases either a physical or digital edition up to 2 weeks after the release will receive the Athlete of Memories early purchase costume for Yumia, and the Floating Object of Memories costume for Femi, and the unique training wrist weight equipment. So Atelier Yumia, the Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land is due out for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam on March 21st, 2025 worldwide. This needs to be, hopefully, a million seller. I'm not sure if any of the Atelier games in modern history have been million plus sellers. I know they've gotten very close or they're near that, but this would be awesome to finally get it with this many platforms, with how good this game looks, what they're doing with the combat system, the real-time changes. It would be awesome to see Atelier finally break well past that 1 million unit sales for a singular title. And I think that this has the opportunity to do it. I think that the character designs are very good. I'm not sure if the main character is as legendary as Atelier Thyza, but I do feel, and I made that as a joke with Thyza, guys. I know it's Ryza, but you know, everyone's like the thighs and all that. So I do feel that this character and the gameplay can really push things forward, especially with that combat. That combat looks so good. They were already adding some pretty cool real-time or some pretty cool active elements in Atelier Ryza series, but they didn't really go full in. Now it looks like they're going all in on that real-time plus that turn-based feel overall, that nice hybrid, and I think that it's really going to work out based off of what I've seen. I usually do a pretty good job at evaluating JRPGs from the combat that's shown, and this looks like it's so much higher quality than what we usually see or what we typically see from an Atelier game in the past, and I feel that they put all that money and that time and that effort, like they stated, into actually making a better game, improving their engine, and getting it out on many different platforms, so having a range of systems that it can run on as well, which is very good. So I think they're gearing up for Atelier Yumia to be bigger than Atelier Ryza, and I would hope that would be the case considering how hard they've worked on these games over the last number of decades at this point. So what do you guys think about everything that we discussed here, from Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake to what Sony potentially could be doing with Kadokawa and FromSoftware, and of course Atelier Yumia? Let me know in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.